Okay, folks, well, that did not go according to plan. I was planning on getting out here this morning and bonding this panel in place. The guy that was out here doing the repair on my brick, he kicked up quite a bit of dust out here with the mortar, so I had to keep the garage door closed down. Plus, and even more important than that, I decided to spend some time with my grandson. He's 3 years old. And I think that was time better spent. If you've got grandkids, you'll understand. But with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and get this bonded in place tonight. All right, so time to get it done. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so here's the game plan. As you can see, I've got blue tape marking the locations of these ribs right there. And that's so I'll know where to wet this down with the resin when I flip this panel over. I'm going to have to flip this panel over to wet it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wet down the scarf cut right here. I'm going to wet these edges down. Remember I said I'm going to try to do this all at one time. And I'll wet down the outboard edge and the aft end here where it mates up with the stern. And then I'm just going to tack it at each one of these ribs, and I just needed something here to mark the location of the ribs when I flip this panel over. And then I'll just set my gallon jugs of resin down on it to flatten it out when I get done. And so it's time for me to get busy on that. And like I said, I'm going to record myself doing that and just kind of show you that process. And you know, nothing left to do now but do it. Be right back. Okay, so first I'm going to mix up just a small batch of resin, and I'm going to wet these edges down. I mentioned that here just a moment ago. And then I'm going to mix up another batch of resin, and that's going to be the batch that I'm going to use to make my epoxy, make the thickened epoxy. And the reason I'm doing that is because what I've found in the past, if I mix up one large batch of resin and then I'll spend a bunch of time wetting down these edges, and by the time I get around to mixing the epoxy, mixing up the thickener, that is, the resin's already starting to warm up, and it just leaves me a little bit less work time. So by mixing this in small batches, like I said, I'm just going to mix a small batch just to wet these edges down, and then I'll come back and mix a second batch just for the thickener. And so, all right, time to get it done. Okay, folks, the resin is mixed. I'm going to start the wet down process, and I will speed up through this. Okay, so now, I don't know if you can see me right now with that camera angle, but I'm going to go ahead and mix up my thickened epoxy. And I'm going to shut the camera off here momentarily. I will be right back when I get that done. Okay, I'm back. I've got the epoxy mixed up and we are ready to go. First, I'm going to apply it to the stringer right here. That was kind of a ad-lib thing at the last second. I realized as wide as this is right here, I need to go ahead and get this bonded now. That's not something I'm going to be able to squeeze in there later on, just because that's about 1 1/8 inches wide right there. It's just going to be easier to do it now. Alright, we'll speed it up from here. Okay folks, that's going to do it. Got that bonded down. This is what I was talking about right here at this scarf joint. Since I bonded this one in place earlier, it just acts like a natural clamp. It provides that clamping force on the top of the scarf joint on this aft piece right here. So I am going to get cleaned up and make sure I don't have any places where I hear anything where it sounds like it might be delaminating. It's what we call delamination, and that's when you have a piece that's not sitting completely flat and there's a gap there, and then when you hit on it like this, you can hear it slapping, and I don't hear any of that. It sounds pretty solid, but I'm still going to put some weight on this area right here, because that's where you saw me, I had to wet down that stringer right there where I had those stiffeners, and I explained the purpose for those stiffeners in an earlier video. That's because this is where the trailer bunks are going to sit right here, and I wanted a little bit extra strength in this area and not have all the weight riding just on a 3/8 inch wide stringer. So I bonded those stiffeners on both sides of the stringer, and that's the purpose for that. So like I said, I'm just going to set some weight down on this area right here, and I am going to call it a night. I do thank you all for watching. Okay, got all the jugs of kerosene and recreational vehicle antifreeze and resin. Got this thing weighed down. It's not going anywhere. And I've even got that little piece of duct tape right there. You know, I was kind of a little bit concerned. I commented in the past how slippery the epoxy can be before it fires off, I was concerned that this piece might want to start sliding this way a little bit. That would be a disaster if I came out here in the morning and found you know, this edge hanging over, you know, 2 or 3 inches. So duct tape, and I just duct taped it to the keel beam right there. Good old duct tape. I will explain what's going on with this gap in the morning. That's all I have for tonight. Once again, thank you for watching.